Something else I've observed, and Mormons, you may listen, it is okay, this may be outside of your box a little, and that is fine. Just listen. You don't have to believe everything I say, you can just wonder, because there are types and signs in all things. In the East, they have 7 centers of the body, which they call the spirit body. And in Judaism, they have the 7 earths and 7 heavens. Well, I was looking at a symbol that says this is a symbol of wholeness. We use it with our doctors. It is called the caduceus. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Is that your whole well symbol? And in the East, they talk about that same serpent. Raise your kundalini. They call it the serpent principle that goes all the way to the crown and makes the wings on that symbol you see in front of your doctor's office. But one thing I noticed, how come they say the crown is purple and this is blue and the root is red? What is a cross between blue and red? Purple? Somehow I don't think up and down are necessarily the truth either, although I honor it. I do not think it is the truth instead. Sometimes I think we're a circle, like a wheel. A wheel. All wheels are one wheel, and none of the wheels interfere. And that is a form of Zion. The devil would have us interfere. E-N-T-E-R F-E-A-R. Interfere. It is not quite the same as intercede. Sometimes interceding and interfering may look like an interceding, and it is not. Interference and interceding are not the same thing, and if you look at those words closely and magnify them, you will find out that sometimes we intercede because we really are interfering. And there's a fine line there. But nevertheless, interfere. No. I just want to digress for a moment and not get you lost in this conversation, but one of the things I've noticed in this world is with physics, they say everything is a wave. A wave. One wave. Yet within the wave, it can be turned into particles. I'm under the impression, though, that every particle is still a wave. I don't think they're lost. But one of the things that they do is they form interference patterns, kind of like rings, concentric rings that hit each other on the surface of the ocean or surface of a pond. And it creates many different waves. Things look like they are no longer one thing. For example, waves of an ocean. You may see many, many waves, but have you forgotten you are the water? Imagine the waves looking back at each other. And this is an old analogy, by the way. You may have not have heard it. But we are one. Sometimes we forget that we are the water. And we look back at each other and we wonder, which one of us is the highest wave? Well, I have news for you. No matter how high of a wave you are never higher than the water itself. Imagine all the waves looking back. Anyways, interference and interceding. Something to think about. I would like to digress for a moment and talk to you about an experience I've had that many people have had, I think, throughout the world from one time or another. It's called lucid dreaming. And it was quite a unique experience because it caused me to think about life a little bit. You know, worlds without number have I made, and there is no end to my works. And sometimes I wonder what a body is and what a world is. For in my mind, I have been able to touch, feel, breathe, have a dream body within my mind, and know that I was dreaming. And at the time, I knew this is a dream, and this is wonderful. The brightest colors, a body you can touch. It was amazing. You know, it is amazing to me. The brain, you say, well, that's from the brain. And I say, yeah, but there's a mind. And I believe the whole body is a mind, not just a brain. I don't know what the mind is. I just know it is. And I'll tell you, everybody wants to mind. Who's minding God the best, they want to know. somehow they know it is all mind. And worlds without number have I made. So sometimes I think about my body and I wonder what it is. I just wanted to share that with you, but I will tell you, I do know within my mind there are infinite landscapes, mountains, seas, oceans, other people. In fact, I can see you in my dreams, and you can be walking around on the street outside while I'm dreaming and not even know I see you. And you'll say, well, that's not really me. And I don't know for sure. Maybe in a way it is. One time I was upset at a friend from high school, and I kind of held a grudge, and I shouldn't have. He had done something really cruel to me, and it was just a little thing, but I had a hard time letting it go. And I was thinking about it, how it had angered me. And this was about 12 years later, after high school. And I went to bed that night, and I saw him in my dream. And we were standing there at my high school, in the town of my high school, and he said, "Remember when I had treated you that way?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I haven't learned that yet." And I said, "Well, that's fine. I understand that now." And then I thought, wow. Somehow the mind, there is one mind, and it is whole. And I believe all sons, all souls are connected to it in some way or another. I would be very careful about denying the S-O-L-E, that solely is all souls, all S-O-L, as the serpent likes to say, S again. Take that S off for just a moment. All souls are one. Even though there are many, many is not a contradiction to one. Believe it or not. They know that in the celestial kingdom, the glory of the soul. I just wanted I wanted to also share one other experience. I had told you this earlier in a previous video, and I never quite followed up with it. One time, I know this for a fact, and you may not believe it, but I'm going to tell you, it is true. All time is now. And even as you see people walking around on the streets, your friends and neighbors, people all around you, did you know they are still here in another way? I talked to a person that I cared about very much. And this was back in 2003. And this is when I was having all of this experience for the first time, right before, and it was, and I don't think this is a coincidence, right before my 33rd birthday. I started feeling all of this on my body, the energy coming down, my brow, and just everything. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. I told you that. I thought I was having a NutraSweet overdose or something, but I even got a brain scan. I even thought I was having an aneurysm or something. What is all of this coming out that I feel everywhere? But it turned out my brain was just fine, although some may probably think that's not so accurate, but it really is. But I told him in my living room by myself, and I said, "I know you can hear me." And I said, "I'm sorry for certain things that I had done. I hope that you can hear me. I know," in fact, I said, I know. I call out your name and I know you are here, even though you are alive and well in this world. Because my faith is that all time is one. The person you will be is already as well. And there is part of you that is much larger than you know. And that part of you sees you as well. All parts see. All souls see. How much of your soul you know yourself to be, I cannot say. But there is much more to you than meets the two eyes, the one life. And that night I went to bed. Now, the reason I told you before, he was actually alive in this world. And if he was in his living room, he probably had no idea I was saying that to him that afternoon. But as I fell asleep, and I went to bed that night, and at 3:21, now that's a magic number for me, it's very important. I go 1, 2, 3. Now you talk about estates. I'll digress for a minute. You talk about this is the second estate. Well, you know what? You also mentioned one more before this. The pre-existence is the first estate. What about the state where we are intelligences? Before we were organized, before the world began. What happened to that? Did we lose our common intelligence with all this organization and all these many estates that are happening at the same time, believe it or not? in some way or another. But he, at 3:21, he bent down, and I was asleep, but not quite. But I was asleep enough. And I felt him right there by my ear. The same ear that I heard, it was my left ear. The same ear that I was called David by years ago, back in 1991. I think 1990. I was 1990. And he said, I saw everything. And he wanted me to know that. I'm telling you the truth. All is one thing. All times are one. And it is important for you to know. Because all of these things you talk about in your book of Abraham, the war of heaven, the council of heaven, the casting out of Satan, all of these things are happening at once. And I want to know what side you are on